courthouse security kicked me out for looking homeless, not knowing I was the new presiding judge. I wanted to see how my new courthouse really operated before officially starting as presiding judge. So, I threw on casual clothes and decided to spend the morning observing how staff treated regular citizens when nobody important was watching. The metal detector security guard spotted me immediately and made loud comments about my clothes. Other people stared. I smiled and walked through. The information desk clerk was worse. She looked at my clothes with disgust, like she was handling toxic waste. I asked to observe court proceedings and she sighed, saying this wasn't a homeless shelter. She directed me to the public defender's office with the charity cases. When I said I was just observing, she said I probably thought I could represent myself because I couldn't afford a real lawyer. The courthouse officers were worse. A tall, skinny guy in charge and his stocky partner flanked me near the elevators. They guessed about unpaid tickets, dodged child support, or whether I was one of those nut jobs who thinks he's smarter than the legal system. When I said I was observing, the short one laughed and said I was trying to score free legal advice, saying whatever strategy one cooked up watching YouTube videos wouldn't save me. They started following me everywhere. When I sat in the public gallery, they positioned themselves behind me, making comments about how I probably thought I could outsmart real lawyers with street smarts. During the lunch break, things got personal. I was eating a sandwich when the tall officer approached, making disgusted comments about my discount bread and expired lunch meat. He suggested I was hoarding food. His partner said maybe I was rationing government assistance. What's your address? The cardboard box behind the dumpster. After lunch, they'd gotten crueler. The clerk had spread the word to every department, calling me a pathetic loser. When I tried using the public restroom, the short officer blocked my path, saying facilities were for people who belonged in civilized society, not bottom feeders. The tall officer said I'd been there all morning and hadn't accomplished anything. During the afternoon session, they crossed a line. The tall officer grabbed my water bottle and poured it into a trash can. After court, the short officer knocked my notebook to the floor and stepped on the pages. As I bent to collect everything, the tall officer stepped on my hand. By late afternoon, they weren't pretending to be professional. Both officers were waiting when I left the courtroom. The tall one asked if I was still here and whether I had a job, then remembered that losers like me don't work and just leech off the system like a parasite. The final straw came as I was leaving. The tall officer approached with my sandwich from earlier, saying he found it in the trash, where it belongs. He dropped it on the floor and stepped on it. There you go. Now it's seasoned just the way scum like you deserve. I looked up calmly and said it was an interesting perspective on public service. He asked what that meant, calling me a worthless piece of. I stood up slowly and said I was just making an observation. That's when I decided my morning of watching was over. An hour later, I put on my black judicial robes and walked through those same doors. This time, I went straight to the judge's private chambers. The bailiff escorting me to the courtroom was the same short officer who'd spent the morning calling me garbage. He didn't recognize me until it was too late. The clerk announced, "All rise for the honorable judge," and I took the bench. I watched every face in that packed courtroom freeze. The tall officer was standing at attention by the door. His face went white when he saw me. The information desk clerk was preparing files at her table. She looked up and her mouth fell open. The short officer who'd been my escort suddenly realized he'd just walked his new boss to the bench. Officer approached the bench immediately. His legs nearly gave out as he walked over. His hands shook and sweat beaded on his forehead. I spoke calmly about our fascinating morning together. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. We'll be discussing your future employment in my chambers after court. The clerk spent the session trying to become invisible. During recess, she crawled to my chambers, stammering apologies. Within the week, the tall officer was transferred to traffic duty. The clerk was demoted. The short officer got a formal reprimand. I instituted mandatory respect protocols for every courthouse visitor. 6 months later, that courthouse became the most welcoming in the state.